What's going on? It's Guido Terreni, one of my favorite people in the watch industry, someone that was instrumental in one of my favorite watches as well, the Bulgari Finissimo. In fact, I had this wonderful tour with you of the facilities back in the day where I could see that, you managed to unite in-house case making, dial making, bracelet making, and of course movement making to create watches that were singular in terms of their design. But now you've got a new role. You are the CEO of Parmigiani Fleurier. And it's always been a brand that I've thought of as having great potential. And so this is a very exciting moment for everyone out in the watch world. So first of all, let me ask you, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, and I'm very happy to have picked up this challenge, which is great. And it's an experience which is completely different from the previous one, because here we are in a niche brand and a very deep watchmaking culture. A culture that has just been rewarded by UNESCO as a patrimony of humanity. The art of watchmaking is here. It's really in the veins of the people that are here, and the reasons for which I'm very excited about this experience are two. One is external and one is internal. The external one is that I think that in this historical moment, you have a momentum for people that are looking for exclusive, non-mainstream and rare expressions now of watchmaking. And if you're able to nail the reason for which a niche brand exists, I think you have a bright future in front of it. And the other one is internal, because as you know, Parmigiani is basically vertically integrated totally, because in the Paul Roger, you have manufacture of movements, you have even the spirals with Autocalpa, you have dial and case making, which are helping a lot. So you refine that way of working, and that is extremely precious to me, of developing a timepiece with synchronicity across all its strategic components. And this is, to me, a value that is very, very high in terms of the way of my job, and in terms of how to move forward. And then the third thing is my meeting with Michel. Michel Parmigiani is a living legend of restoration, and it has been an experience that has moved my understanding of watchmaking after 20 years in the industry at a level that is increasing. It's in the deepness of the understanding. Michel is a very, very humble person. I met him by chance because it was the first time. It wasn't expected. He just lives next door, so it's 20 meters behind the office. So he popped in to say hello. So humble, so with manners that are very elegant as a person, and we got along very, very well. And I think he is really the soul now of this brand in why it began. Its adventure. And what is so specific about the fact that he is a restorator. And when you are doing restoration, you are looking at the object with eyes that nobody has. And I surprised myself looking at things in watchmaking that I had in front of my eyes for 20 years, and looking at with different eyes. For instance, give you a couple of examples, because these things happen not because you ask and he responds, but because for him everything is natural. No, it's his way of living. It's his essence. But then everything that is on a watch of Parmigiani, first of all, a lot of content, but also there is a reason which is extremely pure. No, you take. I was surprised to see that in high-end watches, complication, very expensive, you have an Ardillon buckle, so a ping buckle. And usually when you have high-end customers, they are looking for the full optional on everything. No? So you look for a deployment buckle because it's more expensive, because It has the security, etc. And I said, but why do you put a pin buffer? And he said, well, it's very simple, because if I have a watch like this, I want the full experience. So when I turn a watch and I want to see the beauty of the craft that you put in a movement like this, I don't want to be disturbed by a blade which is inside my sight, you know? So it's so simple. So it's not that you're selling something because it's expensive, but you're selling something that is less expensive, but it has a meaning because you're enjoying the full experience of looking at the movement. Well, the other thing that comes really from restoration is why on the base movement, he has a double barrel. He wants a double barrel for a specific reason, no? And you don't have the patience sometimes to go and dig why a double barrel has been put on a movement. And somebody might think because you can store more energy, you can have a higher power serve. No, that's not the reason for which you do a double barrel. The double barrel, he explained to me, that preserves the longevity of your movement. And so how is it possible? Because the two barrels, they release a torque which is constant for a long period of time, and this gives less stress to the mechanics. So all these ways of talking about watchmaking for me are very passionate and make me grow in my understanding. And I'm very humble in front of such a legend that can help me explain why we do certain things, because the Parmigiani watch has to have no compromises on the quality side. So it's a level of prestige and of offer which is extremely high. So these things are in the process of my understanding, of my study, of doing an introspective work, first of all, to nail very clearly what is Parmigiani. And basically what I'm trying to do with the teams is to go back to the origins with a contemporary touch, with adding more contemporary mood and feeling to this beautiful brand. That's a bit what I've been doing in this month and a half. And what I like a lot is the people. I spent the first 2 days when I arrived on the 27th of January, I spent them sitting down with every single of the 80 people who constitute the brand today, asking where they came from, what's their experience, what's their role, what they like about the brand. And then once you create this human feeling, no? Because I think that a niche brand has a must to create a human touch in the brand and outside the brand, that groups has a little bit lost, no, in becoming big, while niche brand has to keep and put up front this human value that you have. And when you give suggestions to these competent people, the suggestions come back upgraded with another idea that builds up on your stimulus, and this is a dynamic that I love. So it's a moment very creative in this moment, and very very exciting, and I hope that we can do great things in the future.
Amazing. You mentioned a couple of times niche brand. And it's interesting to me that I think over the course of the last year, we've seen a real renaissance in terms of the love that people have for independent watchmaking, and also the success of independent watchmaking. When I speak to independent watchmakers, from micro brands to the larger ateliers as well, what I'm finding is that they are all struggling to supply watches, such as the demand for their timepieces. Why do you think that there's been this resurgence in an affection for independent watchmaking?
I think it's a question of the true connoisseurs of watchmaking are looking for authenticity and for true craft. And it's probably a search for the opposite of mainstream. Mainstream has become a word in luxury that you hear more often, because mainstream equals a big P&L. Okay, that is not the essence of luxury. Luxury should be the opposite. No, luxury is rare, it's niche, it's extraordinary craft. So certain connoisseurs, I'm talking about the most educated people in watchmaking, are starting to look at luxury, looking for more exclusivity. So, but it's not just because you're rare, because that's not enough. You have to have an exclusivity, you have to have a connection to an affinity to a certain taste, no? And not every educated connoisseur has the same taste. So that's why you have expressions of niche brands that are so wide, no, in the style, no? From Urwerk, that is very futuristic, to Laurent Ferrier, that can be very more classic, or other examples, no? So it's very important to be able to express something that is authentic, that you're good at, that you're credible for, and that you also are able to demonstrate that it's your craft. No? Because I think that independents have also this capacity of putting their own face, no, in what they do, because the founders are always there, and this is the case also for Parmigiani. And you have the possibility of creating a human relation with a crowd that wants something more exclusive, refined, and rare.
I think when people think of Parmigiani Fleurier today, the word I would say that they think of first is content, right? So from a perspective of movements, in terms of finishing, in terms of innovation, I think you guys have the world's first 30-second tourbillon. You have I think still the only perpetual calendar that's following the Islamic calendar, which is quite incredible as well. You have amazing chronographs, tourbillon chronographs. You even have like a star wheel minute repeater type watch as well, which is quite remarkable. So I think the content, and I have to say, I also love the shape of your bridges, right? Like I think, like when I look at watch movements, I look at bridges, and I think that this is something that is kind of expressing to the world the soul of the person who created this watch. So I think all of that content resonates very strongly. You had mentioned that you might look into an elevation or evolution of the mood. Do you mean design? And if so, what would you be looking to achieve in terms of design?
Well, you're totally right. You land here in Parmigiani, and you have at your disposal some of the best movements that ever existed. So it's really incredible. And so my job now is a short-term job and a long-term job. So we have to do both things. So on the short term, we're capitalizing on the existing movements that, as you said, are extraordinary. On the long term, we are going to evolve the collection, because I believe that you need to continue to put in innovation also on the technical side, on the movement side. But what is typical, and it's typical of creative brands, creative people, no? You know that I had the chance to integrate Gerald Genta into Bulgari. It was a bit the same, no? When you look at the archive of Gerald Genta, of the museum, when he was doing his own brand, he went in every single direction, because he was so creative that he didn't have the discipline, no, to funnel this creativity into something that becomes recognizable and iconic. And this is a bit the same that I find here. There are elements of iconicity which are very interesting, but are so hidden into the collection, because there are many, and we have to make some choices, and I'm trying to put them up front in a better way, in a more understandable way, in order to have a style which is more consistent across the collection, respecting the craft, because I believe that a brand like Parmigiani has to be at the summit of the content, as you say, in each component. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to, it already has an extremely high component and a content in each component, but we're going to funnel it towards a clearer understanding of the aesthetic goals.
Excellent. Very good answer. You'd mentioned also a technical evolution for the future. And this is interesting to me because I think that the watches that people are looking to wear are slightly different dimensions from the watches from, say, even 5 years ago, and definitely from 10 years ago. Of course, you could also say that you were a part of this because you were part of the creation of one of the ultra thin icons of today. And I'm not saying all watches need to be ultra thin, but I do feel as if that people want greater wearability in watches. Do you also feel that? And if so, what would you do to achieve this?
Allora, you're totally right. I think that each crisis, it was the case already for 29, it brings a sort of trend of need of reassurance, no, in the people. So this need for reassurance is looking at a way to first of all to buy things that are valuable, because you know what the crisis taught us, in my opinion, the true learning is that the pleasures in life, they're not there forever and anything can change, no? So if you want to spend time, if you want to buy things, do it with quality, because the pleasure has to be lived in the moment. So, I don't think that there will be a decrease in the prices of the watches. I don't think you will be looking for value for money to buy more because you're spending less. No, I think you will be looking for a true luxury experience that pleases you, because life is in the end less reliable, if you want, the way of living that you were used to. And this is very important to me in the look of the watches, because probably there will be more long-lasting designs. There will be a look for purity. There will be a look for a true essence. And Parmigiani is in a very good position because these values are in the brand. The brand is not in your face. It's not a brand that is a show-off brand. It's a brand that is very refined and very elegant, and look for people that are not swallowing the marketing activities of a brand. No, they're people who know what they're buying. And this is a great chance, because the level of discussion with the customer who is willing to have a Parmigiani on his wrist is different. Your dialogue with a client so educated is deep. You don't do a training by bullet points where these coaches that say you have to say maximum 5 things on your brand, 3 things on the collection, 1 thing of the product. Otherwise, the people don't understand. That you leave to the mass. I want to build a dialogue which is deep, which is showing in depth what we are doing, and educate even more. So that's why your understanding of watchmaking, a dealer's understanding in presenting the quality of the people that in front of the client, to me, is essential, more than the quantity of the distribution that it will have. So I need to partner with dealers that are extremely able to do this kind of deep speech, and to people like you that know the customer, the contemporary customer, but also have a deep competence in explaining the essences of the people. So going back to your questions, yes, I think that slim is a trend that probably we started, and I take pride in having done that, but not for the sake of the records, no, for the sake of a balance which is long-lasting, easy to wear, comfortable, versatile, no, and gives you a way of expressing your taste, which has to be, again, discreet, because Parmigiani is a brand that is discreet. And what I like of Parmigiani is that the customer is not buying a Parmigiani because he wants to show that he has a Parmigiani in his wrist. He doesn't care if people recognize what he's on. But when somebody does, then you have 2 people that are connecting at a higher level of confidence, and there the discussion starts really strong, because you're talking with 2 people that has a confidence at a high level. No? So, and there you bond, because you share a passion and you know it. So it's a sort of exclusive, because it's for rare few people, but inclusive, because those who are part of this understanding, they connect very strong.
Guido, last question for you. 2020 has been a year of change. In fact, a lot of people have said we've got 5 years worth of change in 1 year, which probably is true. It's been a change in terms of digitization. It's been a change in terms of e-commerce. It's been a change in terms of how people consume information. And it's even been a change in terms of how brands express their ethics, right? Like that's also been one major thing that you've seen as well. For you, what is the biggest takeaway from 2020, and how do you hope to implement that in the future for Parmigiani?
This is a great question, because everybody's talking about new normal, and I don't think that exists, because I think people will really dig into what they like. The takeaway is really that time is precious, not as a claim, but as a reality. And I think everybody wants to have an experience that is more truthful and more profound at the end, because you can't just be living and letting yourself live. You know? That's the biggest takeaway that I take. I have regrets in this year, because I wanted to do something and I didn't do it, and it's something that I would never do again, you know, because I say if I didn't do it in this year, you probably lost a friend, and that happened to me. So I get emotional about it, and this is something that it's not possible. You can't continue like that. So
of course,
that's the deepest takeaway that I have, and. If you translate this to the way of living, to the way of presenting a luxury item like a beautiful watch crafted like this, you have to be true to yourself even more. So this pandemic has probably accelerated things that were already latent in the recent years, and that they're going to be not anymore taken by a crowd that will not swallow everything that we say. So you have to be extremely, extremely true to yourself, even more than before, and probably be more authentic. So don't go chasing trends because others are selling this or that. But I think it's better to be introspective and to be clear and to show yourself in a more direct way, and then you'll be liked by probably fewer, but those who will like you will probably love you.
That's a great answer. Guido, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, sir. We're all excited to see what you're going to be doing, and we'll keep close track of it, and let's keep the dialogue going.
Okay, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Guido. Thank you, Rachel.
Ciao, ciao.